Heyo everybody, Haku here with this week's read-through for Magical Girl Raising Project, or Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku, ACES, and we've got the last half of Chapter 4. Doing this in two parts. I did the first half last week, and now let's finish off Chapter 4, and then we'll only have one left for this whole arc. Which is crazy, thinking that we're nearing the end of ACES already. So it'll probably end up being pretty long, maybe, I have no idea. And then we'll go straight into Queens after this, I think. I think I'm going straight into Queens. I don't think I'm doing another favorite characters video yet. And actually, before I do Queens, there may be another episodes. I think there's actually episode Sigma. So, yeah. Either way, maybe I'm not going straight into Queens. I think maybe there's another episodes I'm going to do after this. I forget which order, but yeah, I had a specific order I was going to do it in, so I'll just have to look at that after recording again, because I do have it down. But either way, we're going to be reading onward here from Uluru at page 13 until we get to the end. For the first half of this, we got a really good Uluru segment and a segment with Monoshiri Michan that was good, where she is now being attacked by Ripple. So yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, either way, let's start off with Uluru, page 13. Slowly, time began passing. They weren't just waiting. They were waiting because they knew their opponent would have a harder time fighting at night. Snow White can read minds. She knows when someone's thinking, I don't want this to happen. The magical girl she fought at the amusement park, Dark Cutie, used shadows to fight. Since she used shadows, she didn't the sunlight to function. If the sun was hidden, she'd have to use street lamps or neon lights, or maybe prepare her own portable light source in advance. Shadows can only be used when not in complete darkness. Granted, she was also a good fighter herself, but adding her powers will only make the fight more difficult. That was what Snow White said. Dark Cutie, how do you know her name? She's a famous magical girl. Have you never seen Cutie Healer Pwn? Dark Cutie's the rival magical girl in Cutie Healer Galaxy Pwn. She was a huge presence there. They would defeat her, but not turn her to their side Pwn. There's even these huge annual events called Cutie Healer Movies, where all the cuties gather together Pwn. Though her role kind of becomes comedy relief there, Pwn. She'd often groan when it's time for everyone in the cinema to give their cheers to help the cuties, Pwn. The final battle with her on Mars, where Cutie Altair and Cutie Vega fought her, was so good that even today, fans are... Fall, you're being a little too loud. Oh, sorry, Pwn. So, she's an anime character. Everyone knows that anime magical girls are based on real-life ones, Pwn. The biggest honor for a magical girl is to have her adventures be adapted as an anime Pwn. Magical girls work hard every day and night so they can... Fall, try to make it short, please. Oh, sorry, Pwn. Fall just gets really lively whenever he talks about magical girl anime. Don't say it like that, Pwn. Oh, I love this. I love them. And like I said, I would love an arc dealing with magical girl anime characters. That would be, like, the best arc to me. I think it's a really good subject they could handle. But either way, it seems she's relaxed a bit when she saw this interaction between a mascot character and his magical girl. Then Uluru thought, no, this isn't the time to relax, and started focusing her mind again. She looked at Sachiko, who was sitting beside her, seemingly depressed with her own thoughts. Uluru would rather not worry or be rash, but looking at Sachiko's face made her very worried. Uluru placed a hand on Sachiko's shoulder. Sachiko shook in surprise as she looked back at Uluru. Sachiko's face went from worried to scared, as Uluru thought something was wrong. Sachiko, don't worry, okay? Uluru's not saying you have to be careless or anything, but just don't worry, okay? Uluru's gonna take you home, even if Uluru has to give up her life for it. Sachiko slightly opened her mouth. A small pool of tears were filling up her eyes. Before they dropped to her chin, she hid her face and hugged herself while muttering, I'm sorry. Uluru looked across from Sachiko toward Snow White, who nodded. Hey Sachiko, it's okay to apologize, but save it for later, okay? Right now, or it's not the time to apologize. We have to keep moving. Yeah, keep moving. After we reach the mansion, you can apologize all you want, well, as many times before it gets annoying. She wanted to show her a gentle-looking face, but she actually has no idea if she can pull off gentle as a look. The light of the river blinded her eyes. She slowly began to speak again. Just try not to burden Lady Puck Puck next time. Once we get you home and finish the ritual, you can apologize as much as you want, Sachiko. That's why Ularu's decided. Ularu will get you home, no matter what, okay? No matter what happens, Ularu will protect Sachiko. No matter what, Ularu will get her home to the manor. She spoke it all fast under one breath, so she ran out when she finished. She took one more deep breath and continued. Even if Ularu dies, Sachiko's still got a job to do to Lady Puck-Puck. So, we'll get you safe to do the ritual, and after that, Sachiko can still be of use to Lady Puck-Puck, okay? Sachiko gritted her teeth before opening it, shaking her head. I'm sorry, sis, I don't want to do the ritual. By the time Ularu had understood what Sachiko was saying, she was already grabbing onto her collar. Snow White wanted to step in between them, but Ularu was already shouting, What are you saying? I'm sorry, it's just... Stop that right now. Why? Sarami died for this. Everyone wants to see you back home, so why are you still like this? Ularu, you're being too loud. If you're too loud, our enemies might find us, Pone. Ularu knows, but she's... Snow White pulled Ularu back and turned to Sachiko. I need you to tell me too, Sachiko. Why are you so afraid? I can hear your mind, I can hear your fear, and you fear this more than anything. While Sachiko had a distressed look on her face, she shook her head left and right. I don't know, but I was thinking of the ritual, and I can't shake this horrible feeling in my head. I don't know why. Ularu knows that Sachiko's always been timid, but this was a little different than her usual timidness. She didn't know where exactly she's differing in, but she knew this wasn't her usual timidness. Sachiko wasn't being herself. Perhaps she was confused due to Sarami's death. Ularu relaxed her balled-up fist and began to speak to Sachiko, but a synthesized voice interrupted her. I'm detecting a magical girl, Pone. She's coming closer. Ularu hurriedly got Sachiko to stand up and reconfirmed with Snow White as Snow White led them away from the area, running together. Alright, now we're going to play. That was a really, really good scene. Now we're going to play. I loved the mystery in all this. Flea began identifying the shuriken-using magical girl. There weren't a lot of magical girls with ninja motifs either. As she looked up the human resources files, the answer showed itself. The missing magical girl, Ripple. She went missing during the famous incident where Malpam was assassinated. What started off as an investigation into an assassin became something that involved escaped prisoners, atrocious magical girls who have escaped prison began rampaging alongside them. Nanako-san, a magical girl affiliated with Human Resources, became wrapped up in this incident. Flea tapped her finger on her forehead. The incident happened during Flea's time as head of the Human Resources Division, and if Nanako-san was in this incident, she would have received instructions from Flea. So why couldn't Flea remember any of that? Flea wouldn't leave the incident all to chance. Flea knew she wouldn't do that. Knowing herself, Flea would be the kind of magical girl who would try to quietly intervene in these kinds of incidents. This kind of incident was the kind where people wouldn't want anybody else to snoop in, which means there were a lot of things she could stick her neck in, and plenty of interesting things must have happened. If one were even clever, then one could potentially raise their status, becoming higher in status to the land of magic, raise their authority, and be able to do more. She couldn't imagine leaving something like that alone, yet it seems she did. Furthermore, if she went even further back, a new mystery appeared to her. Flea was the head of the Human Resources Division. She became one fair and square. No fraud, no extortion, no bribery, no manipulation. She simply rose up to the ranks the long way. However, would Flea really have been investigated and reevaluated because she worked hard? Furthermore, she advanced with such speed. Would it not be natural that she would have used means that others wouldn't think of using? Knowing Konoe Hitokoji, she'd do what the Hitokoji family would be good at. Her grandfather's contacts, manipulating people behind their backs, being in a position to use these things to improve herself was only natural. Her own self-evaluation wasn't naive. While she put up an act of innocence in front of Momori, she knew herself better than anyone. She was very familiar with herself. Flea had already guessed what had happened, rather, it showed up right in front of her. Next, she copied the meeting minutes of the Land of Magic's upper levels. Which were originally not viewable. But being the head means she's got some flexibility. She wanted to know what exactly Puck was planning to do with the ritual. She doesn't have to wonder where her most useful subordinates will be. Puck had been preparing all of this for about a month. She read fast enough that it only took her about 2 seconds to read one page. There was one more thing, the missing magical girls list. Numerous people have gone missing. Fla examined the magical skills of all the missing magical girls. If she could find some of the same tendencies, she might be able to find materials on the magical girl being used as reinforcements. This one had less things to read about, so she only needed 1 second to read one page. Since a magical girl's physical enhancement wasn't just a fighting tool after all. After 30 minutes have passed, including the time it took for her to consider the evidence, she seems to have understood the big picture. If Fla's speculation was correct, Puck's aim wasn't related to Premium Sachiko at all. Fla needed to send someone to the field. She had to send someone to W City. She had to find someone to command Deluge. She thought of who could do that, but no one came to her head. When she tried to figure out who could be perfect within human resources, her head couldn't figure it out, and she didn't feel any better for people outside the division either. Fla even had doubts of herself. Which magical girl could she trust currently? Ah, I see. One person came to mind. Fla stood up, took out her magical phone, and dialed a number. The view outside the window was that of rain, and the garden tree's leaves were shaking. I wonder, is she going to trust Nanako-san? Is that who it's going to be? Because I was going to say, maybe she only trusts herself, but then again, she wouldn't need to dial a number to call herself. But either way, we're going to Puck now. I'm going to grab a sip of water first, though. This chapter's really, really good so far. This arc has been really, really good. So, now we're going to see what's going on with Puck. Despite worrying about Sachiko so much, Puck couldn't help her. And by that she meant she couldn't even go out there herself. 3 pillows were placed side by side, with one large round one being used as a cushion. Puck, who was patiently waiting for good news, cried out. Despite being aware that there may not be any good news, whenever she showed a smile, her subordinates would make a face that reassured her that things would be all right. Well then, time to go pick her up. Okay. She received reports that her manor surroundings have been spied upon. She'd need magic to safely do this pickup and safely return home, and to do magic, she'd need people. She spent all this time waiting for the right time to move, so when she did, she'd have to act quickly, and of course, Puck was working as hard as she can. First, a change of clothes. Society judges people by their appearances these days, and appearances included clothing. Although Puck wondered why they didn't understand how a magical girl's motif is influenced by what power they had, she didn't think she'd want to tell that to people. It was because she would be judged by her appearance that she couldn't afford to go out wearing her home clothes. Afternoon dress, kimono, child's clothing, ball gown, Lolita fashion dress, she put it on and took it off based on comments from her servants, consulting with her subordinates on whether or not it was fitting, or if it would mix well with the humans. She ended up selecting an apron dress that made her look cutesy in a childlike way. She tied up her hair, wore a necklace and some socks, and put on her drawers. She combed and arranged her hair. After tying her headband, she wondered if her headdress looked cute or not. Puck could never decide in times like these. She couldn't afford to waste any time. Even now, Sachiko and Uluru were probably scared and trying to hide and escape, and Snow White was probably desperately fighting someone right now. Puck was supposed to be in a position to help them, but she needed to put her strength elsewhere, so she had to dress quickly so that she could achieve her objective as soon as possible. Normally, it'd take her 5 hours to dress up, but now it was shortened to 1.5 hours. She believed that if she tried her best and thought of Sachiko and the others, they'd naturally give as much effort. Her cologne was soft enough that it wasn't harsh on your sense of smell, and her nails were thin and elegant. She smiled and laughed in the mirror. She was sure she can make friends easier this way. Confidence creates results. After all, Sachiko was only able to escape due to her confidence. Puck didn't look intimidating. However, she had to look serious. Okay, she can't be too cute. She emphasized functionality, and chose a car with a comfy cushion. Because of the large cushion, the only place Puck could have was the back seat. She laid down on the cushion so that she wouldn't ruin her dress. There would be one more person in the car when she picked them up. She wouldn't be able to lay down then, even though she would be friends with them. She had to show them some courtesy. Whenever she left the manor, a variety of barriers were created for the gate operators. She opened the main gates without notice. She left her in her automobile. She wouldn't say any important things just about anyone, only Puck-Puck's friends. So I wonder if this is to show that she's really self-centered and is spending all this time dressing up and trying to look right while everybody else is desperately in danger, or if this is a necessary thing because the way she looks is part of her magical skill. I could see that happening too. But either way, there were no vibrations in the car. It was as if Puck-Puck never left her own room at all. She turned over and thought of Sachiko. That girl's still running. She was cowardly, fearful, and whenever something she didn't like came up, she'd run away, yet Puck-Puck still loved her. She'd stroke Sachiko's tears away, ask her why she was crying, and listen. Sachiko would sniffle and sob and tell Puck-Puck just how sad she was. She wondered what Sachiko would say when she got home. How many awful things happened, how many sad things happened. Imagining her stroking Sachiko's tears made Puck-Puck feel good. Sachiko was very beautiful. She could stroke her blonde hair with her palms as it slipped through her fingers. She wanted to tell her soon-to-be friend about Sachiko's beauty and cuteness. Okay, so I wonder who this friend she's supposed to be meeting is then. But we're getting to the interlude now, so interlude with Shadowgale. She has her TV and remote control, so she couldn't fall behind now. She accepted the brown TV set and sneakily modified it. Thank you. The armor girl bowed and placed the TV in the corner. Once the armor girl leaves, her real job begins. Shadowgale sat down and looked at just behind her. The armor girl was there. She didn't know where her eyes are to be looking, and it was difficult to tell where her line of sight would be, but it looked like she was looking at Shadowgale. Shadowgale turned around to the armor girl and bowed her head. Really, thank you. She took out the remote control and turned on the power. The screen was still a grainy white. Ah, Shadowgale finally understood. She was wondering why Shadowgale was so satisfied since she asked for TV to kill time, yet this was a TV that broadcasted nothing but white noise. When she thought of it that way, it actually was a bit suspicious. Oh no, it's not showing anything. This is horrible. Man, what do I do? Shadowgale repeated the words again, changing the channels while she did. She knew that nothing would be broadcast, but Shadowgale was trying to play dumb now, as if she just realized it. Wow, that's so weird and suspicious, isn't it? I'm not the weird and suspicious one. I have to move all the suspiciousness to the TV. I guess there's nothing I can do, huh? I just wanted to kill time with TV, but no channels work. Guess I'll just have to give up, huh? She heard the clink of the armor girl leaving, and the metal door opening and closing. Shadowgale turned around. The armor girl wasn't there. She'd been deceived by Shadowgale's acting skill. She made a small victory pose, but hurriedly stopped in case she came back and misunderstood. It'd be bad to make it too obvious that she wanted the armor girl gone. There were still 4 black wing things. She's guessing they'd never leave. She'd have to be sure to deceive them and proceed bit by bit. That being said, she was able to take her first step. Now, she wasn't an actor. She needed to use her skills as a technician. Should she start with the remote control, the TV, or the antenna? After 5 minutes of blinking out, she heard a metallic sound descending from the stairs. The door opened. Standing there was the armor girl. She had a cardboard box in her hand. Looking inside it, she saw a game console, 2 generations older than the current one, with some game inserted into it. Oh, right, games. Yeah, I think I can do that. You can just connect it. She didn't think this place had games of all things. Still, she had to be happy, or she'd look suspicious. She connected it and turned on the game system. Since the armor girl was staring at her, there was no room for her to modify anything. Shadowgale pressed start after watching the demo movie. Games that she played in her elementary school years had rough graphics and cheap sound effects and high amounts of difficulty that made her question what the target age rating was. I know, why are old games so weirdly difficult? Then there was the nonsensical story and other stupid things. At one point she thought only an old fart would play these kinds of games. Young kids like me would just consider them garbage. When she tried it, she was surprisingly interested. The graphics and sound effects weren't all that bad. She wasn't exactly talking like an old fart as a high school girl, but she seemed to have matured compared to her whiny elementary school self. But she wasn't thinking about having fun right now. Her worst-case scenario was playing this game. She knew the armor magical girl was behind her without having to look. She didn't hear any opening or closing of doors, but occasionally she heard the sound of metal scraping the floor. She was looking at the game Shadow Gale was playing. The simple electronic sounds echoed the room, and the bright red flashes glared the screen. Though she didn't remember quite how, she was able to proceed through the game. This was a simple action game, but sometimes she thought that the programmers put a lot of thought into some of the sections. It was pretty obvious since this game made tons of sequels, so obviously there'd be some fun to be had. The problem was only this situation she's in, really. The armor girl was watching. Shadow Gale could feel the glare. It gave her spine a shiver. If she was watching so that Shadow Gale wouldn't be using her magical skill, then why'd she even hand her over a TV and a game system in the first place? Did she really think Shadow Gale was bored? What kind of kidnapper hands their captive a smartphone because they're bored? She wouldn't have given it to her if she knew it could be used as a weapon. If it was really due to boredom, they could give her a manga to read, or a puzzle box, or a shogi move list book. Anything without a power supply. There has to be mountains of them. So, if it wasn't because she was being vigilant, what other reasons would she have of watching her? She breathed out as she had thought. Alright. It was back in her elementary school years, one by one, it started coming back to her. Maybe because she was playing this game, one that seemed to be little Brad as the protagonist fighting off ghosts or something jumping out. Momori used to play lots of games in her room. She was all about the latest game reviews and the pre-order rush of action games at the time. She forgot how long she played. It was probably 3 hours straight or more even. She forgot what game she played too, but she remembered noticing Konoe watching her from behind. She'd sit on the bed watching Momori play games. Since Momori was in elementary, Konoe would have been in elementary as well, but her gaze gave her an extraordinary sense of pressure, so she could never focus on the game. She'd just keep making stupid mistakes all the time. That was probably why she remembered. She's in the same situation. The pressure that Konoe was giving was because she wanted to play the game, so she was silently saying, "Hurry up, it's my turn." This was the same pressure. Ironically, whenever Momori handed the controller over to Konoe, she'd shake her head and refuse it. Yet if Momori continued, the pressure keeps building up again, which made her always mess up the game. If she yielded to her, Konoe would refuse. If she kept playing, Konoe would apply her pressure. If she suggested they play something else other than the game, Konoe shook her head. What other options are there? She often wanted to ask directly to her, "What do you want then, my lady?" But Konoe probably wouldn't like that. Back during elementary school, she'd always ask her what she wanted, and Konoe always replied, "What do you think we should do? What do you want to do? Do you think we should do this?" And Momori kept thinking and thinking, not knowing the answer herself, which resulted in her coming to the conclusion that anything's fine. That was how she was back then. But what should she do now? The current situation she's in was similar to back then. Shadow Gale closed her eyes for a while. She opened them again slowly after 30 seconds. She silently looked behind her. Sure enough, the armor girl was there. She took out the second-person controller and handed it over to the armor girl. "Wanna co-op?" The armor girl clinked and clanked as she got on her knees, took the controller, and sat next to Shadow Gale. I wonder if she can play games. At first she had this nervousness, but then after the armor girl found the hidden warp zone and got to the bonus room, she proved her mastery of the game. I really like this. I love the armor girl. Armor Arlie, I think her name was. But yeah, I love this. So fun. I really love this arc. And yeah, we only have one chapter left, which seems so strange. But either way, because I want to get this video up tomorrow as best I can, and I have 2 more videos to do today before I can work on this for tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and end it. I hope you enjoyed the video, because I enjoyed reading it. I loved it. And I hope you enjoyed Magical Girl Raising Project this chapter too. But yeah, like if you did like the video, and comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, what you thought of my thoughts and reaction of it. Subscribe for more Magical Girl Raising Project, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel or talk to you there. If you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord, then just ask and I can give you a link. If you'd like to help support the channel and keep it going on Patreon and suggest and vote on new series for the channel, then link to the Patreon will be in the description, or it's patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes. And yes, that is it. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.